A lot of RuneScape players today associate the game with a strong sense of nostalgia. They played it as a kid growing up, and playing old school RuneScape brings back a lot of happy memories from when life was more carefree and you had less responsibility. For me, that couldn't be further from the truth. I never played any form of RuneScape before trying it out in early 2020 at the age of 28. I found myself with a ton of time on my hands in early 2020 with my job going fully remote and things being locked down. One of my friends suggested that I try out old school RuneScape. I had a long history of playing very grindy and challenging games, and I even enjoyed playing idle games like Cookie Clicker. I was expecting old school RuneScape to be a chill game I could idle and, make some progress during any downtime I had at work. But the more I played and the further I got, the more I realized how much depth there is to the game. Not only does it have that comfy sense of progression and skills and unlocks that it's known for, but it has a ton of challenging content and mechanics. I completed my first Infernal Cape in early 2021, about a year after first starting, and then I maxed my main a few months later. After this, I stepped back from the game, but I couldn't stay away for long, and by late 2021, I'd started an Ironman. The sense of progression, as well as the intense feeling of accomplishment you get from overcoming challenges like the Inferno, is just too satisfying. Things like the Inferno and the Colosseum are some of the most challenging content I've done in any video game, period, and this, along with the extremely high skill ceiling, has made me truly fall in love with the game. The variety of interesting bosses and various challenges keeps me logging in day after day, and since I've grown to love this game so much, I figure I should pay my respects to it by taking on one of the hardest challenges it has to offer: the Grandmaster combat achievements on an Ironman account. Even completing the Grandmaster combat achievements on a main account is an enormous undertaking and a huge accomplishment, but doing it on an Ironman adds a whole nother level of difficulty since you need to grind for all the gear yourself and will likely end up doing many of the achievements without best in slot gear. The road ahead is filled with tons of long grinds, as well as undertaking mastering some bosses and content that I've barely touched. Buckle up, because this is going to be a long one, but we're going on the road to Grandmaster, and we're not looking back. There are several pieces of gear that are essentially required to get the Grandmaster combat achievements, and last year I spent probably about 6 months grinding cocks for an average of maybe 5 hours a day, and ended up going 3 times rate for the Tbow, but I did finally get myself a twisted bow, and that was the rarest item, I believe, that I'll need for these GM combat achievements, so it feels amazing to get that checked off the list. It really did feel like I was in prison forever, but when I first got that, the first thing I wanted to do was test it out and try to get some achievements with it. So the first thing I did was I went to Hydra. So before I talk about this, I do want to mention that with the twisted bow, your ammunition drastically affects the DPS that you're going to be able to do with it, and the dragon arrows are the best DPS with the Tbow, and the problem with dragon arrows is they're very challenging for an Ironman to get. The best source of dragon arrows in the game is actually Duke, and it's only about 100 D arrows per hour. The next best would be Corrupted Gauntlet, that's more in the ballpark of like 60 to 65 D arrows per hour on average. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time at Duke getting some dragon arrows just to make sure I have enough, and I'm going to try to save all my dragon arrows that I can for essentially just doing the speed times with the Grandmaster combat achievements. So many of the bosses have speed times that you need to do, and we're going to start off with Hydra. I had actually been holding on to a Hydra task for over half a year while I was basically in prison at the Chambers of Zarek, and I ended up going to Hydra right after I got my Tbow. So I have the Elite Combat achievements currently, and I just barely have those. I actually haven't really actively gone for any of the combat achievements. I've just gotten a lot kind of naturally from playing the game and just grinding bosses. The one exception is I love the Gauntlet, so I did green log the combat achievements already for both the Gauntlet and the Corrupted Gauntlet. Speed times were a little bit of a bitch, but other than that, it was pretty straightforward. So our starting point, we have approximately 245 or so of the like 500-ish combat achievements, so we're gonna have a long ways to go. But yeah, we're gonna start off with Hydra, like I mentioned, and see how this goes. And before, my Hydra PB was only 1:34 using the Dragon Hunter Lance, and we're gonna test out the Twisted Bow with the Dragon Arrows and see how this goes. I think it shouldn't take too long. I'm not going to bother resetting using Ruby Bolts because I honestly hate having to do that, so I'm going to try to avoid that when possible, but there's going to be a lot of bosses where we are just going to have to camp and reset on Ruby Bolts over and over again. Vorkath comes to mind. But hopefully, you know, with our Twisted Bow here, it just shreds up Hydra. It can even hit in the 80s when using Dragon Arrows. So hopefully this won't take too long. So actually on only our 8th kill with the Twisted Bow, this is what happened here. You can see I hit a max hit of 83 there. And we get another 83 a bit later. And we even hit 2 other shots in the mid-70s. So Tbow just really kind of went nuclear there. And it even finished off the kill pretty strong too. So not even doing anything special, just camping Tbow with Dragon Arrows. And you can see I got the GM time there by 1 tick. So just barely. But that was a nice easy one to start off with. It feels so good to have this Twisted Bow finally and start getting to use it. But yeah, that was the sub 120, 119.8. So we're good to go here. There's one other task at Hydra I want to do right now, and that's getting 15 kills in one trip without leaving the room. So I am going to have to do that as well. Shouldn't be too bad, but unfortunately I'm not going to get to bank all the Hydra bones, which I don't have 99 prayer, so that kind of sucks. But that's fine. And then there is another Hydra combat achievement, the Darox achievement with low HP, but I actually don't have the full Darox set yet. So we're going to be coming back later to do that one. And after sitting here like a sweaty nerd flicking rigor for about half an hour, I was able to easily get the 15 kills in one room, one trip combat achievement, so not too bad at all. And now we have gotten all the Hydra achievements except for the Darox set with low HP. But like I said, we'll be back for that. Now let's move on to another fun boss that we want to test the Twisted Bow out. And this one's a classic that everybody loves. And of course, that is Zulrah. So this is my setup that I'm using for Zulrah here, and this is before I had touched TOA at all, so I have no Masori, just the Tbow with full crystal, you know, the most Ironman looking setup ever. And then we have the Trident with Aram's top, of course, so this is going to be it. The strategy for this is going to just be essentially praying that Tbow goes nuclear and goes off. We're going to be using the Trident for the red phase of Zulrah, the magma phase, but then for the other phases, we're going to focus on the Tbow. Because the Trident is more damage per second on average than the Tbow with the green phase, but if the Tbow gets lucky and hits some good hits, which is what we want for a PB anyway, then it can do much more damage than the Trident. So the Zulrah always starts off the fight in the green phase, so the way we're going to deal with this is we're going to first shoot 3 Tbow shots, and then switch to all our maging gear and hit 2 Trident shots in this first phase. So we can get off 5 shots total. It's actually interesting, if you just camp the Tbow on the first phase, you can only get 4 shots in because it's not fast enough to get a 5th shot. So that's why after 3 we switch to the Trident, which is a 4-tick weapon instead of 5-tick, and can get 2 shots off. So the strategy is going to be essentially 3 Tbow shots to start, switch to all our maging gear, and then after that phase, hope that the Tanzanite phase comes out, which is weak to range, and then our Tbow just goes off. The GM time here that we're going for is 54 seconds, so hopefully this won't take too long. I was also bringing the Lunar Spellbook so that I could cast Vengeance whenever Zulrah attacks me with his ranged attack while he's in the Tanzanite phase. And so after a couple hours of trying, getting a little frustrated because I was getting bad RNG, this is what happened. So I start off with Vengeance and run in here. Turn on Rigor and start shooting. And the first hit a nice 46. Then we got a 49 right after that. And a 21, not the best. Now let's see how the Trident does. 36, alright, and another pretty good hit. Alright, so Zulrah's already down to around 300 HP. And Tbow's hitting them pretty good here. There's another 50 splat. 46 right after. and then a 49. It's actually wild this happened. There's a 48 right there. Oh my god, another 48. Man, Tbow just went nuclear there. And since Zora was really low HP and the green phase is really weak to magic, I just equipped my trident to make sure I'd finish him off quickly. And there we have it. That was extremely quick. Some really insane RNG there, and I got a PB of 43.8 seconds, less than 10 seconds below the Grandmaster time. So feels good to get that. I actually already had all the other Zora combat achievements just from naturally grinding Zora, which I still don't have a blowpipe, by the way. Hopefully that'll happen sooner or later because I'm going to need that. But that's it for Zora. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, that's it for testing out the Tbow for now. And then after I did that, I decided I wanted to go to TOA. So some of you may have seen some of my TOA loot videos. I've just been grinding it like crazy for quite a while, putting in, you know, several hours a day. And after a while, this happened. This was kind of annoying because I was messing around with my invocations to record my guide and I forgot to turn one of them back on, so I only got a 375 instead of a 400, but I got a purple, so I guess it doesn't matter. Can't complain too much. Let's see what it is. Oh my god. That's it. I got the staff. Okay. Well, this was such a short grind. Oh my fucking god. This was insane that I already got this. It was purple number 28 for me. Man, after going so dry for Tbow like I did, I was worried that this was gonna happen again at TOA. But I mean, that's pretty cool. I got the Shadow and the Twisted Bow now. Like I said, 28 purples. I was on rate for like 31 or something, so I was a bit over drop rate on the Shadow, but honestly not bad at all. Oh my god, man, this feels like it opens the game. This was the other really rare item that I needed for a lot of the combat achievements, and so now that we have the Twisted Bow and the Shadow, we're going to be ready to pop off and really start knocking some of these combat achievements out. Of course, there's still the Scythe that I need eventually, but maybe I can get GM without it, but this is amazing. Like, getting that Shadow, it's just going to make everything so much nicer. And that was at 308 expert TOAs, essentially all solo 400s, by the way. And of course, I'm still missing the Missouri top because my account just is cursed and cannot get tops. But we're going to keep doing TOA with the Shadow to go for the Missouri top and start knocking out some of the other combat achievements. And now that we got this bad boy Shadow, if you want to see, I have a very nice stack of runes that I've been hoarding in my bank from getting 99 rune crafting. Solid 513k soul runes. And so now we have our fully charged Shadow, and let's go test this bad boy out at TOA. This actually just feels like I'm cheating. Like, the Shadow's so much better at Warden than the Tbow is. It's insane. Like, I feel like I'm playing leagues or something. He's just melting so quickly. But I'm not going to complain. I mean, I'm probably going to pump up the invocations too, because 400 just feels way too fast and easy now with the Shadow. So I might, you know, do something more in the like low to mid 400s and keep grinding for the Missouri top. But I'm going to cut back a little bit, not quite do as much TOA as I was doing before, and hopefully we'll get that Missouri top before too long. But man, this Shadow just feels amazing. There's so many places I want to go test it out. We're going to be doing some Phantom Muspah soon. I need to go do Kriara, which the Shadow apparently is completely busted there. So we'll be doing that. And of course, just, you know, the Whisperer and a ton of other bosses. Pretty much anywhere you mage in the game, we're just going to be using this completely broken weapon because it's way, way more powerful than any other magic in the game. Now that I have both the Shadow and the Twisted Bow, I decided to go to Phantom Muspah, and I wanted to camp him for a while for a couple reasons. One, I wanted to get the Venator Bow to try out the Coliseum, since that was released fairly recently. And another, you know, there's a speed time task of a minute 30 seconds at Muspah, and with both the Twisted Bow and the Shadow, this should be very doable if I get good enough RNG. For the speed task, I start off by doing a couple Dragon Warhammer specs, and then I just kill him as normal. So if he's using his maging phase, then I use my Shadow with my full mage gear if it's his melee phase, and then if he switches to his ranging phase, then I just equip all my ranging gear and use my Tbow. So pretty straightforward. The one thing I want to call out is there is something called the smite skip at Muspah. So at the end of the fight, typically he'll go into a phase where he's has a prayer shield up, and you'll typically need to use enchanted sapphire bolts or smite to take down his prayer shield and eventually kill him. But you can skip this completely. And the way to do this is if when his health gets low, if you get within 2 tiles of him as he teleports to the middle and shoot him twice with your Tbow, if you do enough damage and kill him with that second shot, then it just skips the smite phase completely. And so you can see me trying it out here. Unfortunately, it didn't work out too well. Just going to run to the middle here. I equip all my ranging gear and immediately shoot him. And with the second shot, it did not kill him. But that's how it would work in theory. And if once you do that, then it skips the smite phase and you can just finish him off right after. So not too bad overall. The kills per hour at this boss are a lot faster now that I have Shadow and Tbow. So I'm just going to be camping it and grinding it. You know, hopefully we can finish that Venator bow before the drop rate at 500 kills. And probably get the speed time along the way if we can just get some good Tbow RNG with the smite skip. But yeah, it's a pretty fun boss, so I don't mind sitting here for a little bit. Unfortunately, we went pretty dry to start out, but this is my first Venator shard here at 302 kill count. So not too bad. Gonna need 4 more of these, so hopefully it doesn't take me 300 for each one. But yeah, we're gonna keep going, and we still don't have the GM time yet, but hopefully we'll get that smite skip on a good RNG run. And not too much after that first Venator shard, I finally got some good RNG and got the smite skip on a very good run and ended up with a 1 minute and 23 second kill, faster than the 130. I wasn't recording during that kill because I'm an idiot and a bad YouTuber, but that's all right. We got the kill, we got the speed time, and we didn't even have to do anything like Ruby Bolt resetting, which I always love. So yeah, got that knocked out. Now we're gonna go on to some of the fun Phantom Muspah combat achievements. So the next one we're gonna be doing is the Muspah Manipulator. And for this one, there's quite a few requirements. So one is you have to never run the entire fight. So you can only walk for the entirety of the fight. And this is okay because when Muspah is in his melee phase, if you step back at the same time that he's attacking while praying melee, he'll actually always hit a 0 on you, so you don't have to worry about that. The other thing we can do, we have to do for this combat achievement is we have to take no avoidable damage the whole fight. So can't run, can't take any avoidable damage, which again, if we're using that step back method, then that makes that doable, and we just can't mess up for the rest of the fight. Then the last requirement that we need is at the end of the fight, after the smite phase, you have to completely encase Muspah in spikes and have them essentially surrounding him. And so you can do that by actually just kind of walking around him. Toward the end, he'll lay down some spikes after about 4 attacks, and the spikes that are already down will actually propagate outward and spikes will come out next to them. So you can just kind of move around here and just sit here when he has pretty low HP and wait for more spikes to come, as you can see I'm doing here. You can also shift click to, you know, step on the tiles next to him and make sure you're not accidentally clicking to attack him. And so you can see here I've been walking around, and I'm going to shoot him one more time here because we're pretty much good on the spikes. They're almost all there. But yeah, that's really it. So we just need to make sure we do all 3 of those things. And we got the full spike box there. And there's the shot. And that's it. So I got the Muspah Manipulator achievement. That actually took me longer than I'd like to admit. It was not very easy, but you know, after several tries, we did get it. And that's it for Phantom Muspah, except for one last combat achievement, and that is to kill him with a salamander. So the salamander is a weapon that can use all 3 attack styles. You can use mage, ranged, and melee. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use this salamander to range him, use it to mage him, and then just, you know, make sure we're swapping each phase with the weapons that we have. The only problem is the range of the salamander's 1, so we need to be essentially right up on him the whole fight and just keep attacking him. Might be a bit challenging because the DPS is pretty low, but you know, it shouldn't take too long. Unfortunately, I did this the day before Varlamore came out, so I was still using the black salamander. I wasn't lucky enough to have the new really strong salamander that comes from that region, so it did take a little bit longer than I was hoping. And the first time, after about 10 or 11 minutes of the fight, you could see after I finished the smite phase here on the last phase, I'm trying to stay close to him, killing him with the salamander, and unfortunately he fills up the room with spikes, and then I'm not able to hit him anymore. So then I have to teleport out. That kind of sucked. But next kill goes a bit smoother, and after the smite phase, my salamander hits pretty hard, and we end up killing him a little bit before the spikes fill all of the area around him. And that is more than just a ranged weapon right there. And we now have all the Phantom Muspah combat achievements. So pretty easy to do once you get that Twisted Bow and Shadow. But pretty fun boss. Still need to camp here a little bit longer to get all of the Venator shards, but we'll be doing that later, and then eventually go to Colosseum once we get the Venator bow. But that's pretty much what's next on the docket. We have a lot of other fun stuff coming up now that I have some really good gear upgrades compared to where I was just a month or two ago. But yeah, I'm super excited to go grind Colosseum too. That's going to be really fun. But, if you're interested and want to like and subscribe, feel free to. I might also be putting out some more in-depth guides for some of these combat achievements as I go along. So if anybody's interested in that or has particular ones they want to see, let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's pretty good. Right now we're at 299 out of 526 combat achievements now with Muspah checked off. And that's it for now. I'll catch you guys later in the next episode. Thanks for watching.